me, Diane. That's it. So, it is.
Hey, Mark.
The agenda I have gone through. Have you got anything that we're gonna have to cut out now?
Yes, Madam Chair. So, 84 Main Street unfortunately will not have a quorum tonight due to Commissioner Welch not being here. So, I thank Val and TJ for mulling in on that application, but they're gonna be holding off until the next old business meeting. So
Okay.
that won't, so that's striked from the agenda.
Alright.
I have that, we don't have enough to do 84 Main Street, we don't have enough to do Ash Street.
Well, let's just do the consents and all that stuff, and maybe
Right.
John will show up.
Alright,
Yeah.
so, can I?
move to approve the agenda.
Very good, thank you.
amended
All of us who
agenda.
are in favor, say
Aye.
aye. Aye. If there's any public comment that has nothing to do with what's on the agenda, we would hear it now. If that's nobody leaving up to be heard, may I have a motion to, go into consent, which,
None of us have to stay off of,
in the consent I don't see, who has to stay on?
nobody.
Nobody,
So,
so,
motion to approve the consent agenda.
all right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, this is consent with conditions.
And again, I think we're
Mm-hmm.
all play, so, motion to approve consent with conditions.
All righty, thank you. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right, now we start with old business. And, Nanahukumako Lane,
Nanahumaki,
Nanahumaki.
I think.
That's what I would
Doesn't,
say.
Very well said.
it's
So-
me, you,
We don't have a board for
we
this
don't
right
have a
now.
board, so there's no quorum.
Would you like to hold off, Mr. Holt?
I'll wait.
Okay.
Sure.
Okay.
So the next one is 4 Halbert Avenue, which is just TJ and me.
I mullened into that.
Yes.
Oh, did you? All right, well then let's hear it.
Sophie's not here.
Yeah, well, let's, so I have a motion to hold for representation.
Motion to hold for representation, number 2, Hulbert, 4 Hulbert Ave.
Real quickly, Madam Chair. So some of the boards, the commissioners, I didn't get a chance to update, so that
That's
they're
all
not,
right, we'll review
okay,
each one.
okay, yeah.
Okay, because that's a fairly busy one because it's the lift and all that stuff, so that's a hold. The next one is 84 Main Street, which, we're going to hold, right?
Yes, they're
Right.
being held till the next old business meeting.
And then the next one is mine, and he's on a plane, so let's move him to the end, because
All right, then have a motion for,
I can't make the motion, can
no,
I?
No, you cannot.
Motion to hold, number 4.
for his arrival.
For his arrival.
All right.
Thank you.
The next one is 32 Westchester Street. It has not been opened. It is a new building.
Yes.
Is anybody here for UPC?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There he is.
Oh, thank you. Appreciate that. So I have you 3 as board members, which is not a judgment.
Yeah, so you have an option if you wanna hold it.
What are the chances of other people reading in and coming on it later? I mean, I it's nice to have a full board just for the.
Well, I think that's a pretty good chance because this is the first time it's been opened.
Yeah,
I believe you can still mull it in. Yeah.
okay.
Or hold it till next week, and I think most everybody's back.
And whether it be any use for us to sort of peruse it.
I think there's always value in getting feedback, and there might be some comments from with
Storage structures?
Yeah,
Yes.
Okay.
Would you like to have them review it?
yeah, let's,
Yeah, we can share. Diane and I are good sharers.
probably helpful to explain context just a little bit. We all know where Westchester is, but this is actually a
Yeah, I
side,
went down there.
it's a side street off of Westchester that most of us probably haven't been down unless you are visiting somebody. There's about 4 or 5 houses on this street. This lot is the back lot. It was subdivided off of 32 Westchester, so it's actually accessed off of Wesco Place.
Oh, that's how you get to it. I knew,
Yeah, and if you're looking at the site plan on the bottom of the page, is the, I don't know the name of that property, but it's part of a large property that's got a historic easement on it. It includes this garage that you see there in the lower left, and then there are wetlands in that lower part of the lot.
is that sort of part that goes into the lily pond?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So this lot right now is heavily treed, but if you went down there, you probably saw that. And what we're doing, there's been a Concom approval for a footprint here that was obtained prior to my clients purchasing the lot. There won't be any not that it matters, but there's no basement underneath this. The approach is to push the house a little bit back from the street so that at some point they could get a small single car garage up front. And you're essentially going to see the gable end, the east elevation is what's going to be what's facing the road.
Facing the road or Wesco Place, you mean?
Yep, the east elevation faces Wesco Place, yes.
And is the footprint that you have there, what you were given by the Conservation Commission?
No, it's a modification, so we'll end up, after we go through HDC, we'll end up going back to the Concom to amend that footprint. We actually, the footprint was like if you took this mirror image and flip-flopped it, was actually closer to the wetland, and I moved it north on the lot.
Okay, all right, let me just read to you what Holly and Shannon say. Holly knocks it out, says balcony not appropriate, that's all she has to say. Shad has to say wall line break for long wall, dormer overlap of mass transition, and glass needs to be vertical. More fenestration. East elevation, front door not appropriate, visible deck. West elevation, over large glass, commercial appearance. South elevation, excessive fenestration, repetitive. And then down in the other, it says, what style is this? The building doesn't work with turn-of-century bungalows in the immediate vicinity. Cottage, modern, not appropriate building. Mass needs to be more articulated. And then they ask that it be sent back before it comes to us again. So,
I did go down there and I did see where that garage is, but there is quite a bit of open space, Joe, that you can see in to where this, it looks like it's been cleared a little bit. So I do think that the south needs to be refought. It's way too much glass. I was struggling with that balcony as well because I didn't see any in there, in that area. And it's an additive massing thing for me more than anything. I feel like it needs a little bit more push and pull. The houses around it are, I think, more gambrel style. Not that you should do that, but really take a nod to that era. And the west windows are very, very unusual. Giant,
which is the east, that's the
yeah.
front door.
And then something a little bit more traditional on the front in terms of the door. written down notes for myself, but I forgot to bring them. Other houses that have the 2/2 there?
I didn't look
Remember?
specifically.
Yeah.
I didn't look, but
I don't think so, because there aren't that many houses down in Westcott Place, right?
right, there's a ranch, like a 70s ranch at the end of the street. Across the street, there's a gambrel that's probably 6/1s, but I'm not sure. I can go down there and take a look. I mean, one of the things we talked about on this was to add some rafter tails and add some shutters to the front of this so that it starts to have a little bit more of a, I wouldn't call this a bungalow though.
And, I don't know what your floor heights are, nobody puts those anymore. Does it need to be 29 feet tall? Is my question.
Right. TJ,
Thanks, Joe. I agree with a lot about what HSAB said about the building, in terms of massing, dormers, and fenestration. I would add to that the south elevation, I'm not sure if they mentioned it, seems like really over fenestrated. I don't mind the fenestration on the west. I think that's a unique touch and fine.
Hi.
The main things in terms of massing was that the dormer at the massing break overlapping. I thought that was atypical. And east elevation fenestration, I'd like to see a little bit more rhyme and reason to the layout. And that's it.
all right. I was wondering if, how long is the building? I don't see,
Let me look on the floor plan.
It is 64 feet.
but basically,
But it's a big straight line, that's
Yeah.
the issue.
Yeah, on the north side, that's right, and it's unbroken on the north. That's 64 feet.
it's, just seems it would be good if it had some dropping, bringing something down, making it a little more additive massing instead of such an extent. It looks like it belongs out on Eel Point Road, really, sorry, but, what is the reason for no windows on the north, down on the first floor, sort of?
It faces into the neighbor's backyard, and their preferred view is to the south, and that happens to be the kitchen wall, and it's highly vegetated on the neighbor's property there. So,
Okay, well, I would like to see those gang windows, if they were going to stay separated, and the same on the, I've got to dig up my glasses, but on the south elevation, it just seems that the whole building sort of, except for the north, is sort of over fenestrated. The north, if the east is facing the street, east is facing the street, north
north is the right side.
is the right side, and west is going out that way. What is, you're going to be able to see it from all four sides?
No, you'll see the east, which is the gable end, and you'll see the south obliquely down the neighbor's driveway.
Okay, and what
Which
about the west?
What's that?
What
The
about?
west, the grade starts to rise about 6 feet behind there. In fact, there's a little bit of a retaining wall. I don't think you'll ever see the west elevation.
Okay,
I don't know, maybe across here though.
Yeah, I certainly haven't walked back there to
Yeah.
determine that, but
But this you will see because it's a one-story garage and then there's this large parking area.
right. So the other thing I might suggest is, I have a problem with the front door with the porch roof and two windows. And sort of the size of the house, I would like to see it come down, as Val first mentioned, that it was 29 feet tall. I think that it's very big for Coral Westco Place. Cause I think most of the buildings are smaller. So maybe you could consider seeing how we could bring some of it down to, that's why I was asking you what footprints you were made to control.
Yeah, I didn't follow that approved footprint, so
Okay,
it's considered flexible.
all right, so that's,
Can I go too?
yeah,
Okay. Joe, on your east elevation, so I'm looking at sheet A1.1, your west gable seems about 2 feet too tall. So the ridge on the upper left quadrant, if I'm looking at that south elevation, that ridge on the right that's facing me is the ridge that's not facing me, correct?
Correct.
So you're about 2 feet taller on the east elevation than you are on the south.
Oh, yeah.
So I don't think that's helping with respect to balance on the primary and the second, the presentation of the primary and the secondary mass. I'm not as concerned so much about, I agree with the other comments that have been made. The north elevation, I'm not as concerned, maybe there's due to lack of more limited visibility because of the oblique angle, maybe not. But I am concerned about it and the length overall in the sense of as homes in this area are either taken down and redeveloped, this becomes the plan, kind of the template,
Right.
which is to fill in these, the front to back. So in having said that, my suggestion would be to create more of a sense of a secondary massing there as opposed to the taller ridge and then the secondary ridge. There's not much of a change there, and I think you need to have some type of jog or some type of differentiation in the building so that it does read as separate massing. Thank you.
okay. Yes, so you get an idea of what we're looking at.
Yes.
Okay, well, thank you very
All
much.
right, thanks.
Did Sophie come in or did I?
So
My thing isn't, he's delayed in Boston.
do you, I'm not actually here for the whole meeting. I'm on vacation, so I'm not really here.
Okay.
But I will be here for half an hour.
Okay,
So I
Sophie's
thought I would
here, we
try and
put her
get
on
some
here,
stuff out of
let's
the
see
way.
what we got that you could help with.
Oh,
1, 2, that only makes
Oh, yeah.
3
and
level
Tim,
minutes.
so we gotta go back to Tim too. He's been sitting here.
All right, Tim,
I'm
Tim.
okay with waiting a little while if
No, that's
Al
all
needs
right.
to
Let's
get hers
get-
done, or
we'll get rid of you.
while Steven's here, anything else that you need him for, if you wanna take those.
No, we'll run with what we got.
Okay.
I think do his, and then do Sophie.
We got, if he stays here, we can do 33 Orange Street with him.
I mean, I can do mine without
That's the one you want
guy
to
here, but-
recuse from. So,
So the board on this one is Coombs, Oliver, and Welch.
right.
Okay.
Okay,
Hi, Tim Holmes with Sunwind, back here for a second try. This was supposed to be, we're taking off the wood roof in order to put the solar on. And part of one of the questions that John had asked last time I was here, Mr. McLaughlin, he had asked about the dimensions of the solar on the roof and what would be visible on the rear dormers for roof. And so I went back out, I took some measurements, and I have those. So we're gonna cover a good portion of the roof. I can pass these to you. These are the smaller dormers.
this is on the rear, right?
Yeah, this is on the rear of the house.
Okay.
These two rear dormers and the large dormer in the middle.
Right.
So that one, it's only gonna have about 6 to 8 inches around the perimeter. This one the same, except for at the top, we'll have about 3 feet. What I'm trying to do is keep the panels slid down towards the fascia so that you see less roofing and the panels first. And one of the main concerns is that it wasn't a black roof. And so what we've done is I have a sample here of pressure treated red cedar roofing, stained black,
Very good.
to be proposed for this job. So this is one coat dipped, left out in the weather for the past 2 weeks, because I did this a couple weeks ago and it kind of stunk, so I didn't want it in the office, so I left it out. So that's weathered for a couple of weeks. Black cedar.
What did you dye that with?
Just Minwax ebony.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's a good stain.
Yeah. Yep. So that's what I'm proposing to do the roof with, so that the black solar panels will blend in with the roofing.
And everything's gonna be on the
You're
rear.
a genius.
I'm trying. And yeah, everything's on the rear. Those 3 dormers right there.
Yeah.
And what I did is actually, I think the proposal, it's for 18 solar panels. And I believe what I did to make those measurements work out to basically cover more of the roof is we added, I believe it's 6 or 8 solar panels. So we're actually, otherwise we would have been showing more roof. And from what I've gathered from previous meetings is that you'd rather see more of the roof covered than less, to get out towards the eaves and cover more of the shingles.
Yeah, nicely, straight covered, not
Yeah,
jiggity jog.
exactly. Yep, as square as we can get them up there. And if do you have those measurements there, Val, or did they get passed
I
over?
have these,
Yeah, those. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yep. So on those, I'm trying to get all the way out to the rake boards and as low as I can get. Part of the reason on the large dormer, we're staying down about 3 feet from the top just to clear the chimney and that vent pipe. If we put them up, we would have to jog them around.
yeah.
So I'm trying to just keep nice, neat, straight, clean rows.
So
without them
there's
being
none on
broken
the
up.
front, Tim?
There's none on the front. Nope, just the 3 rear dormers.
It's 2 rows though in the back?
Yep, 2 rows on each dormer.
Oh.
Yep, rear dormers right there. Yep.
Oh, can you go to the plan view image, Kath? Yep, keep going. You're
there
good.
it is. Yep.
So, Tim, that separation between, on your main dormer in plan, where those 2 join is showing as a separation.
I put a little teeny line in there. They're gonna be touching each other.
Okay, but they're on the rear dormer.
Those are the rear
Okay.
dormer, yeah.
Where's
This is
the front, just for,
Yep, the ridge line is actually right here.
Okay,
Yep, and that's the front roof and that's the rear roof.
Okay.
beautiful.
Yep, it is a little tricky to see on that one.
so Valerie,
I'm very delighted that you came up with the stain idea and that
Thank you.
they're all on the rear.
right, Steve,
Thank you. I think the stain idea works. I'm glad someone adopted it. But I think it's going to be, I just want to throw out there, I think it's going to be something that needs to be periodically revisited with some stain. Since this is on the back of the structure, I have no concerns with it, with the black stain.
Thank you.
I think you did a remarkable job. I'm not friendly towards all solar things, as you know, from out in other places, but I think this is a marvelous job. I'm really impressed with Minwax doing that needed color. So I'm for it. Also, I think it'll be very interesting to watch it, and we can put that in our motion saying that the black be maintained in perpetuity, which is one of our favorite little statements. So I would hope, attain.
Is
May
it
I
just,
speak?
yeah,
I am opposed to the black stain on the roof because I envision an eyesore in a neighborhood of natural to weather roofing. It's gonna look odd even if it's only on the back. It's just gonna call attention to it. I'd rather see, since these are limited visibility anyway, the panels on the back to be mounted upon the natural roof as to not call additional attention to it with the black stain.
I didn't realize it was just getting stained in the back.
I thought he was gonna do the whole thing.
And I think staining the whole thing would be even worse.
I agree with that.
Are there any asphalt roofs?
No, it's all natural to weather
Wood,
cedar.
yeah. And so there's the areas that it's, thank you for the comment, I appreciate that. I really don't want to have to stain them. But the area that's getting re-roofed is just the 3 dormers. We're not re-roofing the entire back of the roof. So there's could you click back to the other picture there, that shows the back of the house? Yeah, so the roofs under the dormers, all of that is gonna stay just the way it is. We're only re-roofing the dormers, whereas they're low sloped anyway, a little bit harder to see from afar, let's say. But those were the planes that we were going to be re-roofing. Not the whole entire roof, but yeah, I can
all right.
appreciate that, so.
Well, that
yeah.
makes it interesting. I still think it's interesting to see how well that worked.
Mhm.
But I think, at least in my opinion, that TJ is right, that it would look weird on partial roof and then not. So may I have a motion?
I'll make that motion. I'll make a motion to approve through staff. Or no, just to approve without the additional staining of the roof shingles.
No.
You're not on
You're
this
not
one.
on this application, no.
Okay, somebody else.
Sounded good to me.
Tim, what are those in the drawing? Are those are add-ons in Photoshop? What's on
Yeah.
top of the dormers?
Yeah, but yeah, that's just to show, basically what you would see would be the edge of the solar panel, about 2 inches thick and about 2 inches high or 3 inches high off the roof.
Right.
So that's all I was showing, was sort of the edge of the
No,
panel.
no, that's cool. Yeah,
Yeah,
we get you.
that's all.
All right, so can I have a motion with that, and that it be we don't have to put the perpetuity in because we're not staining it?
I would prefer to see it with the black stain on the door. If it's only on those 3 dormers,
Correct.
I think a flat color was more appropriate than a breakup. So I would, if it were more than the 3 low slope planes, then I would suggest, I would completely agree, and would vehemently disagree of staining the front of the house
Okay,
and the whole roof.
so what would be somebody's motion? Do you want to make, it's either you or?
Yeah, no, that's fine. I thought there was a motion before TJ commented, but no, did I misunderstand?
Just do it again.
So a motion to approve subject to staining the low sloped 3 roof planes on dormer roof planes with the black to be maintained in perpetuity. Black stain to be maintained in perpetuity.
Okay, all
And if-
those in favor?
Discussion on the motion? I would just say that, Tim, if it does look funky, I mean, we can just come back. We can just let it bleach out.
Right.
Like, we're not, it's gonna be a lot harder to stain after the fact than it is.
No, I
Or,
think that
you know what I
that's a
mean?
good idea. We tell him that, say, a review
Yeah.
after 6 months or something.
Yeah.
So that we can see, so we can say it'll work on some other building. And this will be a perfect place because it gets sun all over.
Yep.
And that's good. So all those in favor of that motion,
Aye,
say aye.
just
You
me.
are a no?
I'm a no.
No, all right.
You're a no on the solar or a no on the stain?
I'm a no on principle that it's a wood roof and
Okay, I just wanted to
Yeah.
make sure I understood. Where are you, Madam Chair?
Well, I thought I would have 2 and I didn't have to worry about it.
And then life comes along.
I will go with it to try it out. I think it's something that we want to see what it looks like, whether it looks queer on a wood roof, so we don't have that many that will give us all the answers that this will, and we have been studying it, these 2 have been studying it for some time.
I will say though, the plus is that it is the rear.
Yeah.
I'll be happy to pop back and bring some pictures to you, 6 months, a year, type of thing.
Okay.
You know.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Check it out. Thank you.
Okay, so now, I go, that was that one. The next one we need to have for Steve is, 4 Harvard Avenue and me. There's only, it's 3, so we can do 4 Harvard Avenue, right?
Yeah, the board is Watterson, Coombs, and Oliver.
Welcome.
Well,
Wait, isn't it
Welch is
Welch?
on there too.
He is.
I
Yeah.
mullined in because we didn't know who was
I
gonna
got
be here.
Val,
Thank you. I don't
me, Waterston, and Wells.
Yeah, you're right. I crossed Welch off, so I thought you weren't coming tonight.
Scratch.
Alrighty, so,
I wasn't.
But thank you.
here you go.
Thank you.
Alright. I'll read these first, then
Okay.
make your presentation. This is from, Jason, because I guess there wasn't enough to have a shabby. I got Hobart, not sure what changed. We asked for a different front door. It should not be sidelights with such a door. It is not appropriate. Not in favor of a roof walk. It is not a fire. It is not for fighting a fire. It is not around a chimney. We also asked for shutters to remain the same. The proposed style does not work with the age of the house. The diamond cuts too. That is Jason's finger.
Existing or not.
And Brooke Meerbergen says, prefer original shutter style diamond cutouts. Proposed board and batten style shutters are too rustic for a building with shingle style Provence and situated among similar shingle style summer of 1920 style cottages. Would like to see the roof work centered over the front door or centered on primary east facing gable. And that's the only two I have. So that is what to start with. So if you will give us your information.
So you guys had, all of your comments, you guys were really clear on what you wanted to see, so we tried to address each one. The first question that I think Jesse Dutra had proposed was to do a water table around the whole base of the house to sort of lessen the break at the bottom, which we did, which I think looks really sharp. You guys also, we had originally proposed V-groove wrapping the base, and you guys said that you wanted to see boards spaced, you know, like separated, so that it's hard to tell in the drawing because they're just lines, but you guys wanted to see gaps between the boards. You wanted the shutters back on. I had thought I had some liberty with not using the exact same diamond ones, but obviously if you guys want them to be exactly the same, they can be. You wanted the skirt taken off the roof walk, so we did that and made sure it was labeled as natural to weather. Diane had really not liked the triple window above the front door. You guys all seem to want that to go back to for that to be a double, so we did that. You thought there were too many window sizes, so I eliminated 2 additional window sizes and got it back to exactly the same amount of different windows that the house has originally now. Actually, I think it's 1 less varying window type than the house has now. And Diane had also not liked the size of the 2 windows in the gable on the south elevation, and so we made those match the others on the second floor.
Okay. TJ.
Yeah, I could go. I appreciate all the changes, especially bringing the shutters back. I'm unsure on the water table whether it's a good idea, because it could make it more low-key to just run the boards vertical. But in such the case that you already have it drawn in and it looks okay, I would wonder if we could integrate it by running the corner boards, down and
No, I don't.
as long as it's painted the trim color,
Okay. No, I've never done that.
Well, actually, I think I take that back, because the way you have it drawn looks like the corner board should go down, but that board's gonna be offset to be flush with the corner boards anyway, right?
It will, depends on how we flash it. It's kind of like a
Okay,
nightmare, as you know, to
okay.
do a water table.
So probably the way you have it's gonna be fine, but I think it should integrate well with the corner boards and the trim and be flush,
Okay,
or proud.
okay.
So how about you?
Well, I actually had taken a lot of pictures and wrote notes, and I didn't bring notes. When you look at the link site and you can see where the drone shots are, this is evident that it is with that other house, so I'm glad that you did bring the Blue Shutters is the name of the house, so that was pretty important. I do agree that I think the roof walk is out of place on this particular house. And really, the side for me that I think is the most evident is not the front, it's the one that you see across that wetland area, that's south of it. So I'd like to, I think, see more of a feel of the sunroom or that was there. It doesn't read like that to me anymore. Yeah. It's such a distinct side, you know, when you drive down Easton Street to see that. Not that these windows are great, but it's not reading like it did before with all the windows.
All right. That's it?
Yeah.
All right. Steve?
Yeah, thanks for the changes, appreciate it. Definitely losing the skirt is helpful. I've been looking at roof walks too much lately, and it's just way too much of an adornment with the skirts on it, so thank you. I think the shutters, I could go either way. I think it's nice to have the diamond with the flush face as just a nod to what was there. I think the front door is an improvement, net improvement with the side lights over the existing. If you look at sheet A300, the existing shows a double set of double doors there. I do, not to be disagreeable with my fellow commissioner, but I think that integrating the water board into the corner boards as a matter of flush is going to create a different architectural style. It will read, each of these will read as small cubes because they're kind of, instead of stacked, where you've got your V-groove, your skirting set in on your post, and then you have a skirt around it as your water board, and then your shingles above it and slightly out with your corner boards, which to me reads as a stacking type structural, which is traditional. This will be more, not even transitional, but more modern, because if that water table is flush without that little detail above it, which is the drip cap, which I don't think is appropriate for this location, I think that you start to get into kind of an odd territory. So I would suggest as drawn on the water table. I agree with the comments on the
Yes.
fenestration on the north elevation, and I'm sorry if I didn't catch this before, but I don't think it's a major change. I think really the comment I would make is to change that fenestration to try and capture the sense of an enclosed porch, which is on sheet A301.
So A30.
So
Wait, I'm sorry.
So your existing shows this kind of a sense of an enclosed porch where they filled in between
So
posts.
do you guys know that was done as 1/1 windows? Like it was never a porch out there, ever. Just to be clear, that one story addition.
I know, but
Okay.
the setting down there, and one of the things we've been doing in that area is where it appears that something is enclosed or elongated like that tends to want to be, or tends to read in terms of the history of the homes as a porch area or a covered porch, would be to address it as such so that the fenestration reads more. I don't know what your interior program is, so I don't know if it's possible to do it, and I'm only one voice. But one option may be to try and address this so that it reads more like it was, there were posts, maybe there's a center post, and then the windows were filled in. So that it's changing your fenestration so you don't have a set of 4 ganged windows. Here, I understand there is a set of 6 ganged windows. It's not lost on me.
Okay.
Which page you on? Sorry.
I'm looking at the existing north elevation, what would
Okay.
read as a porch.
Yes,
And then the new one,
down here,
yeah.
yeah.
So I'm not quite sure, you know, I don't want to design, I'm not here to design, you're a wonderful designer, very capable, but I think that that might be a more sellable, if you're looking for that amount of fenestration, to have it read as something that was an enclosed porch space. Because then, what does that carry around? These dry papers during flu season is gonna kill me. Can't, with that chimney there, it's not gonna make a difference.
Because so this side is definitely not visible from anywhere. That's only visible from the yard. Are you talking about the side Val was talking about? Like that, you cannot see
The
this
north
elevation.
elevation, you can't?
You cannot see that from
Well,
anywhere.
then-
Val was talking about the south elevation.
Right.
And the part she was referring to seemed to be the, like, 6 gang windows on the side closer to the guest house.
The left
I
side, so
wasn't
the,
talking about the north, I was talking about
The south side.
so the
the
four
west.
gang windows,
No,
the four gang?
the,
Val seemed to, so like,
Val.
this was always an addition that looked like this, but I think Val was talking about was over, this is the original here.
Well, it's that whole
Two.
facade with all the,
So you want us to keep the amount of windows that there were before?
No. Okay, let's back up. So on your north, if it's not visible, then disregard my
Yeah,
comments,
okay.
because I have no business in your business.
Okay.
On the south, I think the concern you have on the south is the set of gang windows to the left, which is the set of 4 and the set of 2, or
it's
something
the
else?
composition of all of them when you look across there.
But that's existing,
Correct.
so this is what's proposed.
Right.
So I'm
It's
saying-
significantly different to me, and you know, these houses play so well together. It looks like one house at some point in different directions, and I just think this is skewing it complete away from.
Wait, and so Val, on the right side, if we just literally added more of those windows back, like you're saying, on the right side where I have blank wall, if we just have, 5 gang windows on the right there too, and take it back to how it used to be, wouldn't that do it?
Yeah, I'm trying to understand the concern, that's all. And it sounds like what you're saying is that the way it reads now has a common vocabulary with the other structure, and if it's changed the way it's proposed, it won't. Is that kind of close?
Yeah,
that's
sort of.
one thought.
Okay.
I just think with the roof walk and it's just changing the house, and I'm just looking at the composition as a whole. So that's all. It's just me. I mean.
No, I just wanted to understand it,
Yeah.
that's all. I don't share the concerns on the south elevation. Again, I think where you have that extended mass for single-story mass, to me, it wants to read as those windows are separated by some element, be it shingle or otherwise. The 4 gang on the mostly left side. I think it's an improvement over the fenestration overall. I mean, a 4 gang, and a 6 gang. I don't know. Thank you.
All right,
And this is something just for my fellow commissioners, this is gonna keep coming up, we've gotta come up with some ideas about all this, business underneath.
I would like to say that I have a problem, and I don't know what you can do with the C windows as compared to the size of the B windows, the size of the panes of glass. There are considerably a lot of them, and they catch my eye. People are going to be looking at this house because of the way it's situated on Halbert Avenue, being it's the only 2 on that side by the wetland. Then you go up and all the houses are different, but these 2 have been there for a long time, and they are viewed as part of the landscape mostly. I think that you need, I don't know which window looks better, the big ones that look, they were part of a sleeping porch, or the regular 2/2s?
So you guys, I'm just like a little confused here because, so the existing house, which is the top photo, I took this exact same window size that was on the second floor and tried to run it all the way around the second floor and eliminate like the anomalies. That's the C window is the existing,
Is the existing one?
It's the
Okay,
existing
well,
style.
if it's existing,
Right.
it's gonna stay, but.
and then on the
I wasn't-
first floor, you guys said to try to get those consistent. So I took the 2/2 size that was dominant on the first floor and tried to use that also as much around the main house as possible.
Yeah, the first floor Cs are a different,
Well, no, so C is a one size, there's A, B, and C, and
Yeah.
so, but the existing house has like 10 different sizes, so last time you guys said to try to like simplify it and cut down the window sizes,
well,
which
that's
I've
good.
done.
There you go. It's just
So-
stuff that's catching my eye that,
right. But the existing house has so many different, like, I find that existing elevation extremely unattractive. Those are windows from like really crappy 1/1 windows, and now you
Yeah.
guys are saying you like more, and then matching I'm just, you guys are all saying different things, so I just,
if you
what?
had those and put them in the 2/2s, I don't know, I guess the space between the two have to be close together. Well, you're the architect, and so I just see what, they had a lot of sleeping porches type of thing in the old houses, and maybe they were bigger, so it was more, went down lower. But stick with what you got, because it fits all together. I do think that the roof walks should go. It's not,
Okay.
the style of the house really doesn't call for it. I think you have done well with the additive massing, which will be important because that house, those two houses, as you drive around to go up Halbert Avenue, are what catches your eye, because there's only the two of them. Then there's a big gap for houses on this side, but there's a long gap before you get to the, so they really stick out, sort of part of the island. So I think that they're important, but I think the windows will work well. I think it's hard to come up with something. I think the water board, is the old planting going to be replanted when,
We're adding more planting, because right
Okay.
now there's not
a lot
there's
now.
not a lot now.
so
To try to
the
mask
water
that.
board will sort of disappear behind the,
Well, we're okay to do no water table. It's just
Yeah.
Jesse had asked for it. Like we originally, I don't know if we want to draw a horizontal band, but if you guys want that, then we'll do
it's
it.
just drawing more attention
To
to
the
this
height.
huge height.
Right.
and
Yeah.
yeah.
Seems to add to the base mass and make the building look taller, but we're fine.
does.
Right. So you guys just if we were just to say no roof walk, no water table, and we will keep the existing
Shutters.
shutters,
Shutters.
is like, are
Painted
we?
blue.
We'll keep them exactly the same. Like, can we?
Front door.
Is
The
that?
front door,
The front door is an improvement over what exists.
There are two huge glass doors on the front door right now as the front
French.
doors. Yeah, it's a set of French doors.
I mean, the whole thing is an improvement over what exists.
the lower part of the side lights, is that wood or glass?
Solid.
Solid.
Wood,
So,
Sheet A300.
yeah. You want to make some other, are you all right with it, or?
It's up to me.
I don't know, it's big because the door is wide, but the panes in the side lights are the same size as the panes in the glass, so it would look funny if it was any slimmer,
That would look more formal.
yeah. So, let's try it.
So I'll make a motion to approve as submitted, subject to the following conditions. No roof walk, no water table, shutters to largely match the existing design and color.
Do we have the info on the flood level height?
Yeah, I pulled it left.
No,
Oh,
we
you want
usually
the document?
require, or are trying to require something from a surveyor to,
Surveyor certification,
yeah.
Yes,
minimum height increase relative to FEMA building code.
But is that gonna be through staff? Who's gonna look at that?
Yeah, I mean, it should just be a letter from the, I would suggest it be a letter from the surveyor saying,
So are you like up above?
We're lifting it as low as we can, but the house is already, a little bit up, so we're lifting it. It's at elevation 6.1 now, and we need to get it to 10.1, so we have to lift it 4 feet. Exactly.
so, again, no water table, no roof walk, shutters to match existing color and style largely. Surveyor letter certifying minimum height increase relative to FEMA and code. And what was the other thing?
Where does it show the front, the depth of the front porch?
I think that was it.
The front porch is right there.
What's the trim colors?
It's white.
Blue shutters remain.
okay, that motion's been made. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 You against it?
No.
All right,
Thank you.
Thank you.
now, I'm trying to pick up all the ones with,
Stephen, can I have the?
Yes. Yeah, I'm gonna have to jet pretty soon.
we do 84 Main Street, and then there was one here we needed you, or 33 Orange, which one would you rather do?
Excuse me, Madam Chair, 84 Main Street isn't
It's
coming.
on
Yeah,
hold, I
yeah.
just remembered that.
So they're not. So
And
you
mine's
have,
on hold.
yours is on hold?
Tilly,
Yeah, he's not here.
Well, do you want to do it anyways?
Nope,
Okay.
thank you.
Is he coming?
He's stuck in Boston.
Oh, well, then he's not gonna be here anyways. Okay. So 2 Ash and 33 Orange.
and 92 Washington Street are ones that we need you,
And 11 Meadow.
11 Meadows, so you got to hurry. It's
So I'd make a motion, we pick up 92 Washington Street.
Okay,
Do you want me to write that for you?
yeah, you can do that.
Okay, so.
So that brings us to 6, right?
92 Washington Street, that is me, Val, Steve, and TJ.
Well,
Hi, how are you?
thank you.
And then, Madam Chair, there's from 2 advisory boards.
I will read the,
There they are.
remarks
Doesn't seem like anybody's been,
from our board.
I know.
This is from Brookmere Bergen, 92 Washington Street. No concerns, though I prefer shed dormers with the shallow pitch gable dormers being proposed. And Jason went, and she says, I am not sure what really changed and took our comments into consideration. The 2 wings look like they got taller. The brick piers and the breakthrough panels are so busy. A lot of glass facing the water. Is all that painted? It should be natural to weather. There should be very little in the way of painted finishes here. As much natural to weather as possible. That is what both members of have, although wanted to have okay? So do you want to give us,
Sure. We actually did make a lot of changes. One of the consensus comments was that the windows on the second floor were too small. So we enlarged those to the middle type window. We added a window as requested on the east elevation on the second floor where there was no window. We reduced the mass of the chimney on that elevation as well. It's requested that we show AC locations, so we showed that on the west elevation. We're hoping to do geothermal, but this is our backup. There was a comment about the FEMA underside. We do have a letter from the surveyor asserting the 9-foot zero to the underside of structure. And with that, Ray had suggested that we simplify the base of the building by doing vertical boards and eliminating the water table, which we did. It can be natural. We have the rest of it painted, but we could do that natural if that's requested. The north elevation had a pair of French doors on the second floor, and it was requested that we change it to a single door with 2 windows. The reason that we raised the secondary ridge was when we enlarged the window, we couldn't fit the pair in the dormer. So we raised it to be equal to the other secondary ridge. John McLaughlin.
Which elevation was that?
It is on the south elevation on the left side. It's beveled where we raised that ridge. And that pair of windows was enlarged, and this was the only way that we could do it.
Couldn't you do it with a dormer, shed dormer?
We couldn't make the shed with the 4 and 12 pitch work.
All right, and then that's the south elevation is east. And you're changing the skirt all around into straight, you're doing away with these lower ones.
Yeah, Ray had commented that the base was, I think a few had commented about the busyness of the base, and because we're raising it to a height, he suggested if we did plain vertical board with no framing, with no trim frame around it, no picture frame, that would be preferred.
It'll be a lot simpler.
Mm-hmm. And we took away the water table there, except at the porches where they have to be, so that the shingle would come all the way down to that board and make it simpler.
What are those things underneath the 2A windows in the west elevation?
That's an AC bracket.
Oh,
Yeah, we're hoping to do geothermal, which we wouldn't have it, but that's in future design.
What?
So
do we have a, what you were considering to sort of hide them?
we're going to landscape heavily, but I guess we're open to an HDC suggestion if there is one.
They have to be at that height around the water, right?
Yes, that's right. Mhm.
All right, TJ.
I'm fine with all the changes. Thanks for making them. I particularly appreciate the lowering of the plate height in the dormers. And I do ask my fellow board members what they think about the foundation skirting. Should it be on the outside of those piers, or should it be broken by each pier? I think typically we see it skirting on the outside.
I was gonna say, I'd rather have.
Yeah, I'm not so sure though how I feel about that, because I'm trying to come up with some ideas about just these, it's like everything's on a hat stand.
Right.
You know.
We were even thinking of keeping the piers on the ends and eliminating the centers to
And
simplify
they're natural,
it. But
it's natural to weather, and the brick is natural.
the brick is painted gray.
That'll help.
Yeah,
Do you think it will
we're
help,
trying
or
to
do you
soften
think
it.
I think it'll help.
They didn't want stuff painted.
I think, if this is, I mean, just not to be,
It's just that
if this is
was-
brick, if this is just natural brick, I wouldn't vote yes for it. I just think it's so out of character for that area. I think the skirting should be, instead of V-groove, it should be separated. I think it's a nice design, but I just think it's detailed and it's almost too formal.
Let me just see if, TJ, were you finished?
Yeah, that was it. Thank you, though.
Okay. Go on, I just didn't want to leave you.
Oh, no, that's fine. I thought he was done too. Yeah, I would suggest that if it's brick, it be painted. I would suggest that the skirting be separated, square, four edge square. I think that the HVAC needs to come back as a separate application when they determine what they're gonna be doing.
Okay.
This is really high. I'm really uncomfortable with that location as it's proposed.
Now,
I agree with what's been said. I would actually prefer you to go back to the north elevation as you had it. It was simpler, it seems over penetrated with the windows being in a single door. And you had all of your glass the same size. Now down below is a different pattern, and I think it just draws your attention to it. That's it.
I agree with that.
I do too. One of the things you have to keep in mind, you probably know, this is in the old historic district. And this is a pretty old area that unfortunately got demolished and therefore became open to a development which does not look anything like what was there. And I would like, I don't know whether you can do it, how much you got, but if there's any way to bring the house down, the house that was there originally was a great deal smaller than, shorter than this one.
Up there?
And you sort of lost the flavor of a house on the
They
creek,
didn't
which is
scan it.
basically what it is. So
Where did they scan it?
I think as simple as you can make it, and as small as you can make it, and with less paint than you can make it. I don't know whether you have been down there, and you've seen Charlie Sale building, and those three buildings ahead of you when you go down there, Charlie's is here, the road goes down, these two buildings on the side both belong to Sale family, and they give you the feeling of what was there. And
Okay.
this is the waterfront, basically. People who speak of the waterfront, they don't instantly go to this area, the creeks, but it is, to the people who live here, a very active place. So I would like to keep the house simple.
One thing we didn't address that we're noticing is that the windows are simulated divided light,
No,
and this is the old historic
Right.
district. So what we've been trying to do is at least keep the street facade, or what you can see, as true divided light.
you can see it. Oh, of course.
Yeah.
The garage is closer to the street, and that is simulated through divided light.
That all has to be
Simulated
true,
true divided?
Simulated divided light.
it has to be true divided lights in the old historic district.
The garage, I said the existing garage that's there is simulated.
So,
Well, then if you mustn't touch it or replace those windows with anything else in the garage, but the house is in the old historic district.
Can you describe, I'm sorry, Madam Chair, through you, can you describe the Norwood window? I've seen, we typically have Marvin, Henderson, Sunpella,
Yeah.
and some lesser brands.
Green Meadow, Green
and-
Meadow,
and,
you know,
Yeah,
Green
Mountain.
Vermont.
But the Norwood, I've seen a couple of different lines, so
Thank
can you just give us a description of what it is you're proposing with the SDL?
It's very much like the Marvin. It's a little bit narrower, more like the Boston sash width. We use Norwood because it's a better quality window, but we can match profiles. They are narrower
Yeah,
than Marvin.
I think that's a strong consideration is TDL versus SDL, and then if it's on the front or visible locations, which is largely all four sides, that there would be consistency.
I would think maybe we want to see a Windows schedule or whatever before it goes to that. I want to see what the windows are, what the forces are.
Probably not.
Which is on the last page.
Do you have a window? I can't tell whether these buttons are carved or flat or what they are. Do you know?
Those buttons are OG style on the Norwood windows.
Yeah.
I've seen them in the
Yeah.
past. Yeah.
I think I'd like to see a tear. I'm not suggesting that it's a solution, but I would like to see a tear sheet submitted through staff.
Okay.
So
Well,
a cut sheet.
okay.
I'm not suggesting that these are acceptable, but I want to look at them because like Marvin has double pane, but it's a TDL. So I'd like to just get it. I'd like to see what Norwood is and get a handle on it, and I can do a little research myself.
I
So-
could also comment, you know, I think it's halfway defensible, and I know sometimes we'll allow the SDLs and they'll restore if it's very limited visibility. This is 65 foot from the road, behind a garage, and they're Norwoods, which are wood windows that look fairly authentic from my experience.
It's 65 feet from Union Street, but it is not 65 feet from Washington Street. It's right on the road going down Washington Street.
I think it's, yeah, Washington Street extension.
Right.
Stand by. I'll look it up.
You may have another one. It's from Washington Street extension. You may just have another one.
Maybe the old one, because
Is
the
it
old
right
one
here?
was right there with the
Yeah,
front
right up
yard and the
close.
fence.
Yeah, the neighbors' yards, the houses are taller. This one actually is smaller than anything in its surrounding.
I'm just not comfortable with approving SDLs.
So I would maybe take a motion for revisions and bring back
Right
a
there.
description of,
And a tear sheet through staff via email, so we can look at it in advance.
in advance, okay, and, what colors, it was mentioned, what colors
It's
are you
gray.
planning?
Quaker gray
It's gray, yeah.
and black.
Black sash.
Mhm.
Doors black or no?
The
Both,
doors are
yeah,
black,
yeah.
yes. Like the garage.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like there's at least some minor revisions. There are certainly concerns, and removing the AC, so the motion would be as was made. For revisions and a tear sheet through staff on the windows.
Right, I do have,
And remove the AC from the plans and the elevation.
Okay.
Okay? Need to have you come back and forth.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, I'll take that.
okay, so do you want to do the 33 orange or the,
This is, if you want to
thank
go,
you,
maybe
thank
just
you.
in sequence 11 Meadow. And
all right, we'll do 11 Meadow, I'm just looking at the
I
time
know,
to.
I'll just resign myself to get through this stuff.
Well, we're on number 7.
Well, we were gonna deal with the ones that I'm here for, so
Oh,
you have a quorum.
Okay,
And then there's a bunch that are new.
okay,
That he was going to go back on his vacation.
gotcha.
So a motion to take up 11 Meadow
Yes.
Lane.
I think Matt's not here.
Come on,
I
Matt. No, Matt's here. He's on his.
think he's on his headphones.
Oh, come on.
Hit him.
We're moving you up, guys.
No, they have a quorum issue.
Yeah, and apologies to anyone who's waiting, not to be insensitive.
So, Madam Chair, this was held for review.
Yes, we
Oh, okay.
did the June.
Okay.
Thank you. Don't forget to go home and wash your hands.
Oh, God.
Some Ayurvedic oils on and breathe them in.
Hit with your elbow, don't
Welcome, Matt.
How we doing?
We're getting there.
hit him in the stomach with his elbow. Ooh.
Okay.
Tuesday,
So we can start whenever you guys are ready.
Yeah, I think we're good, Madam Chair. You can roll.
Oh, okay, sorry.
So, thank you, Madam Chair. So, I think you had reviewed this previously. I don't think you made much in way of comment, but you did want to look at the site. Hopefully you had a chance to go look at it and get a sense of the context and scale. And again, I feel like this house plays well off the neighborhood and the house next door. So, looking forward to your comments. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay, you got something?
Yeah, I think it's a perfectly appropriate design. What's unfortunate that we don't have control over that is significantly different is the way that this lot has been cut up. And so it's created two long skinny lots in a neighborhood that doesn't have that sort of density. And Matt, is there any way that this house could push back? Because I feel like with the two so close side by side, it's a huge influx of massing there.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like the other houses, the lots, and I imagine maybe it will happen eventually. It's too bad. This is one of the things we want to have some common ground on is how lots are split.
Sure.
But it's the first in the neighborhood to be split like that.
Right.
And I know you mentioned there was a house on the end, and you're right, that is 2-story, but that's only like 800 square foot
Footprint?
and this is over 2,000, so I'm just having some concerns about these being so close and side by side that it's gonna change. So it's not the house
Sure.
necessarily, it's
One thing, if I could respond to that, it might be helpful. We did actually show, if you stay on the site plan, if you scroll up, you can see the relationship, or I'm sorry,
Right.
down.
Okay.
There we go.
Let me see if I can
Scooch
get it in
over.
here. Yeah.
You'll see that we did put the other house on the adjacent lot just for points of comparison there. So there was this notion that they would stagger a bit, but to your point, I don't see why we couldn't push it back further.
Is that a pool behind it?
yeah.
Yeah,
Just
gotta have a pool. Right? I mean, you can't build a house
I
without a
know.
pool.
Something to sort of mitigate them reading,
Mm-hmm.
and they're both tall, and then go back a long way. So I don't know what the solution is.
I could probably cheat it back. I can go back to the client. I mean, if we, again, if there's comments about the design of the structure itself, I can certainly work on those. But in terms of placement, that's something I can also talk about with them as well, because they may. Just looking at it, I don't see why we couldn't slide it back. And to your point, it may actually be helpful. We did talk about the notion when they first purchased these two was the notion of not having them exactly side by side, and so that's why the first lot was kind of pushed back
And
a
I'm
little
not
bit.
suggesting side by side is right
Yeah.
either. It's
Something in between. I hear you.
right.
So you can go into the 100-foot buffer, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
And
You can't go really over the 50.
no,
So
the little building in the front of the first 11, I can't remember what it is. What is that?
It's a zoning shed,
Okay,
but it looks
I
like a
knew it
little
was something, I
garage.
just could,
Yeah.
it's been so long.
I know, yeah. You're not allowed to put cars in those apparently. So they call it-
Legally.
they call it zoning shed.
Are you talking about the Jeep shed?
Can you cook people?
Temporarily. It's not for habitation. Okay.
All right.
TJ, are you on this?
I am not. On that one.
Matt, may I go ahead?
Yes, please
So,
do.
Matt, it's a nice design, but I'm just concerned what masks, I'd like to see this, I'd like to see its counterpart. Because, looking at this closely, these doors are like 7'9".
There's no sizes,
almost 8
yeah.
foot. So the windows are over 5. It's just, basically, you've done a really great, look, it's a nice design, and part of that is you've done a great job masking its height and its massing by using your fenestration in an advantageous way, which I'm not necessarily against, but I'd like to see it in the context of what was previously approved, because they are both, they might even be closer together in terms of the front facades. I just think context is important. I think the other thing is, I don't know, this issue of where structures are on the lots and the changes that are happening it's a difficult one to wrestle with. I think it should be no closer to the street than any of the other primary structures in the area, I guess is where I come down on it. And that's not to say that it as a general statement, that's not to say it has to be exactly, but I for one think alternating depths between 10 and 0, from the average is okay, because a little diversity makes a difference. It doesn't need to look like suburbia with everything at the 20-foot mark from the street, or 40 foot depending on the zone. But I think, and the reason I mention that is because those are the primary dwellings, and then they set a tone for where the primary mass is on the structure. And then that speaks to future development and not having these lots built out all the way to the street. And if there is a structure forward of the primary dwelling, it's typically by nature a smaller dwelling, like your zoning shed. So that with respect to the streetscape and with respect to the existing setting, it isn't overpowering it with new structures close to the street. And I think that that's a valid concern, not only here, but there's one on Prospect Street. I have a similar concern. So the farther back you can take that, I think would be helpful.
Sure.
Maybe lower some, I don't know what your floor heights are. Can you do a mud block, something like that?
All right, so can I have a motion to over additions?
Motion to hold for some revision.
Thank you. And now we'll do one more, and then that will get you out of here, but I've got 33 Orange Street. It's you, one, TJ, and me. You have recused, right?
Yeah, it's my client, so I can't submit.
Well, you know best of all whether it's good enough.
Is Grayson here?
He's not here yet, no.
What about
Somebody is here though.
Good.
Are we gonna do 2 ash?
What are we doing to Ash? Yep.
I think 33 and 2 ash.
To
Okay,
Ash.
and then you can cut out.
Because then I
Because
got
Matt's here now, so.
well done.
So I'll make a motion to take up 2 ash.
And that's,
First, all right.
and that's for Brooke.
I don't think you have a quorum, Matt, unless you want me.
No, I'm Mullen in on
Are you
that.
mulling in?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I have the signed form, I didn't turn it in.
Okay,
yet.
oh, that's fine. I'll get it from you later.
Okay. This is no concerns. Appreciate the dormer modification, makes the dormer less prominent.
So,
That
thank
is
you, Madam
true.
Chair. You basically just took what you said to do and reduced the size of the dormer, pushed it back, and reduced the amount of fenestration.
Okay,
Fabulous.
Motion to approve is submitted.
all those in favor, aye.
Alright.
Thank you.
Guys are too quick for me.
It looks like it's scaled now to the
Yeah,
house.
no,
Yeah.
it's a good call. Great call.
So now,
Motion to take up 33 Orange Street.
33 Orange Street, and then that will leave us to do, just so we know what time we're gonna get out of here, and leave us, because it hasn't been opened, is Mark's at 123.
And Josh Moran too. Is he still here? Yep. Hi.
Very
What number is
patient
that
back
one?
there.
We have quorum issues tonight, so we're just.
Okay,
And
so
everyone else is away.
Yeah.
16
Can you pass me that?
Broadway,
Bob,
Josh
can you pass me that
Moras
piece of
is
paper?
the
This?
Yeah.
And
Welcome.
Thank you.
That.
Oh, I gotta sit off of this one.
21 line.
Here, can I take that?
Well,
Oh, for her, yes. If you did that to the chair as well. Okay.
Here.
I signed this. Okay, I read that to you. Did I read that? 33 Orange, recusing due to COI appearance.
Yeah.
Okay, all right, so you want to tell you where we are? Do you want to tell us where
Sure.
you are?
I am Jacob Williams from the Garden Group, and so essentially last time there were a couple of concerns. One of the concerns was with pictures and not getting enough of a visual on some of the areas, especially the grade changes. So I believe some of these pictures will clarify that. As well as the other concerns were the bluestone in the driveway. We've nixed that. That is now just a straight cobblestone for the driveway. Gotten rid of the bluestone there. And then in addition to that, there was concern about too much bluestone. Specifically, the comments were not enough porous areas in the back. So the recommendation was for lawn, but our concern is that on this location, this early on Orange Street, getting a mow truck in the middle of summer to mow that. So what we did was we went with more of a pea stone garden area to add more porous materials into that without actually having to have a lawn with weekly maintenance.
And can I get a clarification through your
Of course.
minutes here?
Yes,
Jacob, along the front here, it's clear you're putting it in both your notes
Yes.
and here, but you don't show your privacy fence, which partitions the driveway from the bluestone, which with the 3-foot gate, 3-foot wide gate, renders that area almost invisible, if not totally invisible. Is that correct? You're putting a privacy fence here?
Yes, so I was gonna get to that. The other concern was it was suggested that we switch that to the white picket to match the front. But the current concern is that if we switch that to picket, almost all of their private yard space will be lost.
And then just again as a clarification,
So
you're looking to do
essentially that,
what's done
which
at
I
the
believe
neighboring
is
house?
number 13 Orange Street, so I believe it's 4 houses away or so.
Okay.
5 houses away maybe.
So that's the visual of what you're
Yes,
proposing
that's the
here.
visual we are going for
Okay.
for the privacy fence and arbor.
Thanks for the clarification.
Of course.
and the thing behind it is going to be all paved, or I thought that's where you were going to put some grass.
So directly behind the privacy fence is what we left as bluestone, and what we changed was towards the back, which
Where those
we
five-
switched to pea stone and garden to add the more porous surface instead of lawn.
In the way back.
In the way back, yes, around the corner.
Where you had this picture of pea stone pathway with,
Yeah, there would be a couple of transitional bluestone steps to transition from the bluestone patio into the pea stone garden.
okay, because you know the water problem that Orange Street
Yes.
has, and the less paving, the better off
Yes,
that
which is
people
why we switched to as much pea stone as we could in that area. But we didn't want to switch over to grass for maintenance concerns.
What did you call the truck?
Excuse me?
What did you call the truck?
The truck?
Oh, you were talking about landscaping. He was saying, I think, landscape maintenance vehicles.
Yes.
They can eliminate one.
Yeah.
With a
Getting
mower.
I thought you said mow truck, and I didn't know what.
Oh.
Oh, with the mowers.
With the mow trucks, yes, because especially typically with the mow trucks, we have trailers and things like that, and accessing that close to downtown with all that equipment in the middle of the summer.
Last question for me. What's the current driveway?
Currently, it is there's nothing. It's all dirt. It's all been.
I mean,
ripped
what
out.
was it prior
What was
to
it?
work?
I'm not sure.
I don't know.
I'm not sure.
And this was grassy area?
I believe so.
Okay.
Yes.
So we won't see a linear drain here, but that might be something to consider for your neighbors and the town and so on and so forth. Thank you.
All right, TJ.
I have a question for you, sir. On the front arbor, you're showing a gray line. It looks like a wall. Is this going to look like your photo at 13 Orange, a fence with an arbor, or is it something different?
Yeah, it's the fence with the arbor, the
Same idea.
And we switched it over. Before it was a naturalized fence to match the back fencing that you can see in the picture with the elevation, the one with all the ladders. There's all sorts of equipment in the way currently. It was originally to match that, but we switched it to match the front with the white paint. And that's the look that we are going for, yes.
Okay, I have no concerns otherwise. Thank you very much.
Of course.
So if you're agreeable, I'll make a motion.
Yep.
Motion would be to approve as submitted, subject to some drainage on site and the privacy fence to match the privacy fence at 13 Orange, and the arbor to. Well, that'll be the motion.
Okay, because that will be the fence.
Right, and then can I just have a discussion on the motion very briefly to comment?
Yep.
So Jacob, the only thing I would suggest is this elongated, this like oval here in your 13 arbor.
Yeah.
It's not really, I mean, I know it's at this house, so you would think, oh, it's typical, but it's not a typical proportion, where this is a different shape.
Yeah.
But so this is typically more of a circle than an oval.
Okay.
So if you work your proportions, I mean, you have some latitude, you didn't submit an elevation drawing.
Yeah.
So that would just be my comment.
All right.
Sure. That's no problem.
Aye.
Aye. I'm trying to write it so I remember it.
These things suck.
It says that. It said no thinking.
Sal, where are you?
I'm trying to plug the computer in because it just went dead.
Oh, I heard a voice and I was like, where is it coming from?
Did it work?
I don't know yet.
All set?
Yep, you're all
Thank
set,
you.
Jacob.
Thank you very much.
No.
Have you ever been just sitting around doing something or other, and all of a sudden this woman's voice comes out and says something? Oh, can I help you?
Get your mind out of the gutter.
Okay.
So many different comments I can make.
All right, let's see what we got left to do. That finishes you, thank you. So we have Ethan.
I'm here.
We did 33, we've done Matt, we've got Jeff Marash.
Josh,
Josh.
that's a new application.
And Mark.
You're all wonderful. Don't forget to wash your hands.
Thank you, Stephen.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
This is absolutely
Wow.
ridiculous.
What? It
None
won't-
of the plugs work.
We got 2 more, 3 more.
Three
Don't worry
more.
about it. Don't
You
worry
think
about it.
we
Only have
do
a
that
couple more.
in half an hour?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Your daughter's already here, you know.
No,
Yeah, just walked in the door.
oh, thank goodness, a stupid telephone.
Saved you the text.
I want a telephone that does what I want,
There.
when I want it, and not,
So do I.
Okay,
do they make it?
thank you, Val. Battery is low, right, yeah.
Alright,
Got a wire.
let's go, Madam
Alright.
Chair.
Okay, so which one are we
So
doing?
this one, we are doing, I believe, Mark first.
Yep.
He's 123 Manicat Road.
So far, right?
Then Josh.
And Josh, and then Ethan. And we all get to have a drink because we credit like good.
So this house is known as you can see, the Rainbow House. Marketone representing the applicants. This home was built actually in 1984. And
Oh, yeah.
we're making some modest, and what's most useful is probably, if you go to the elevation, see, you can see the existing photographs of the structure. So we're trying to just traditionalize it a bit, taking out the casement windows, wood roof, smaller garage mass, but we are accommodating some new second floor program, which is where that large forward gable is coming from. Trying to give it a little bit more of a shingle style, if you will.
I like it.
And unfortunately, this elevation, the nicest elevation, you can't even see it. It's just tucked way up on Manicat Road there. Trim is proposed, however, I shouldn't say however, but is white. Sashes, I believe, are white as well. Hamilton blue front door.
It's not turning on, Val. What's going on?
All right.
Oh, well.
I
technical-
tried.
I know, thank you. All right. I have to deal with
All
that
right.
today.
So
That's it?
that's really it, yeah. And then where we don't have massing changes, replacement of windows to replace what were casement windows elsewhere.
All right, Val.
I love it, Mark,
Thank you.
especially the south.
Great.
I
For
think
me.
it fits in
Yeah.
very well. Easy.
That was well done. Net improvement, and I have no issues with the design.
Don't cut down the tree in front.
Oh, there's a beautiful tree to the right. No, we're absolutely, two of them actually.
Yeah,
Yeah, one to the right of the house, one forward of the house. Yeah, it's actually in the photograph.
right.
Yep.
Beautiful.
No, they won't touch them. They love them.
Good, good.
Yeah.
Motion to approve is submitted.
Can
All
I
right.
hold one sec? One comment. We had a late comment from the client. So after we submitted,
Don't approve it.
not just yet. Can I have you look at the north elevation, if you wouldn't mind, which is A22. The client requested on that top drawing, north elevation, where we have the windows split on the second floor. She was curious if we could mull them up against the door, and I have a drawing to illustrate this, so she can get a little more wall space in that room without taking out windows. So it would be that. So yes. So going from that split to ganging. The other request she had made, we had pulled this deck in a few feet from the corner, pull it back. She wanted to pull it just to that corner.
I don't have a problem with that. I think all the windows on the house that are there now are ganged. Do you want to see?
I can illustrate it, yeah.
Did you see, Diane?
Yeah, so.
Okay. TJ?
We could submit a proper drawing to
Yes.
staff.
So this is the
Make it
exhibit.
exhibit A.
Yeah. I can, so the change thing is that she wanted these gang versus split as we had them here, and then asked for the corner of the deck to just come into the corner of the
Okay,
building.
well, it's on the north elevation and not gonna be seen, so
Yeah.
I'm fine with that. We'll keep that as exhibit
That'd
A.
be
Yeah,
great. Yeah,
mark
thank
it up
you.
as exhibit A there, buddy.
Mark it up.
So I reinstitute my motion to approve per exhibit A.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right,
Thank
the
you,
next
TJ.
one is 19 Broadway.
How's it going, DJ?
Review, and I have some comments from Holly and from Wisconsin Advisory.
All right, hello.
Hello,
Give your name for the record.
my name is Joshua Morash, and I'm here on behalf of 19 Broadway.
Right, and I have a statement from Connie Backus, which says the building is contributing, that it's the late 1700s, the Benjamin Bunker, William Coffin House, and AC units with cedar pipe covers. That's the scope of the work. AC should be masked at all possible, if at all possible, it should say. So not to be obvious to the eye. Staff comments are, contributing individually, significant. Remove piping off facade of south gable to existing downspout area. And they all agreed with that. That was Bob Benchley, Angus McLeod, and Clement Dirks.
So, Madam Chair, I
Yes.
see that Josh has run or is proposing to run the conduit along the, corner board area, which is very desirable, and then across. You're encasing it in cedar?
Yeah, so I mean, currently the trim is white.
Yeah?
So I mean, moving
That
up
would
to-
probably be white.
Yeah, so we would use bodyguard and make it white, and incorporate that downspout with my line sets as well. So it's just kind of one downspout looking structure.
And then he has a picture here of what I think you're proposing to cover those with, right?
Yep. So the actual units on the rear of the dwelling will be covering something similar to this.
To that.
Yep.
We've already got some out there ensconced in town by the well, so that has been acceptable and worked very well.
Great.
What's going outdoor water location, that's where they're going?
Yeah, so if you look at the south, yeah, so we're proposing two things. We have some outdoor air conditioners that are going on the south wall, and I've kind of drawn those in with red squares so you can see the location.
Yeah.
And so we want to get the piping laterally along the bottom course of shingles there, because I know it's probably not desirable to see something run laterally up high at eye view.
Right.
I noticed some other neighbors had actually built kind of like a gravel trough along the perimeter of their building. We might be able to do something like that if having a box, which in this case would be probably white trim as well, or this could just be cedar, and then the
Cedar, I think cedar
would blend in.
natural to weather and it would.
So I mean, it would then it sounds like it would be cedar going horizontally, and then white trim going vertically.
On the main one, but maybe the one next to the window on the smaller mast should be
Cedar.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
That
That's
can
a
be
good
moved
point,
over.
yeah.
So,
Or even shingled, white cedar shingles on that box out
Right.
yeah, we can do that.
with cottage corner,
Yeah, sure.
That's a great idea.
camo.
Nobody
Nantucket
ever
camo.
thought of that before.
And No one's ever. Everyone's always just boxed them in cedar and put a nice little like pitch cap on the top of them and called it a day. But
Well, so
that's a great idea.
So I'm talking to my people here. If they do that on the one going horizontally, the
Yeah.
second line, what about the one going across? I mean, the horizontal down like where the water
You
table
could
is.
shingle
That
that
would go
too.
away too.
Yeah, let's start shingling these things.
I like it.
Can you
Yeah.
explain to me what you
So-
just said?
So
You understand?
he's
So
gonna
we're gonna
build the
box
box
it and then
around the
shingle it.
conduit, then
Yeah.
shingle three
Right.
sides.
And
of
then
it.
the
Yeah.
one that runs
Right.
right
Right
here
there.
can be
But that's
white.
the
White.
It will look like a.
Yeah, oh, they have done that.
Yeah, they've done
Okay.
it before.
All right.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then how does everybody feel about the lattice idea for the units?
I think that's appropriate.
Yeah, and
John Lawrenson out in Wisconsin town has one. We gave him permission because it's hiding the
That
same
might be,
sort of
is
thing.
that the one right there?
Yeah, just like that. That's
I think that
probably it.
worked out.
and then Josh, same thing on this, over this, you do,
We do the same thing, just as the photo I have here, an example. So the
Okay.
house is so small that we have to move the water heater out to the back here, and this is really the only place it can go. So we
Gotcha.
basically go from grade all the way to the base of that fascia board there, and
And you're gonna shingle it?
that's gonna be
Oh, that's the one with the lattice.
lattice work as
Yeah.
well. So
Well, that worked out very well in the other house. We gave it to
you
the
wanna do
permission
an
that
exhibit A?
we should
Oh,
know
yeah.
how well it
Good
will,
idea.
would hold up. And how well the hot water heater underneath it would hold up.
He's gonna do an exhibit A, so all that means, Josh, is that it will be written on there what we just discussed.
okay,
And we'll make copies in the office. Yeah, and then Josh, when you come in, we'll make copies in the office, and those will be the ones that'll be stamped.
okay,
Okay?
great.
Cool.
So,
So motion to approve per exhibit A
Right.
with the vertical south larger, conduit to be boxed in and painted white so that it resembles a downspout. But the rest of the lines on the south to be shingled and natural to weather.
Very good.
So which one gets boxed out in white? This one on the
Just
corner?
The one
the
coming down the corner board.
the
Okay.
big one, yeah. And then the lattice treatment on the units themselves and the water
And
heater,
hot water heater.
natural to weather.
Do you need a picture of that, or you,
He's got it.
you
Yeah.
got one?
thanks, TJ.
Okay,
You like my crude drawings?
hey,
All
you
in
did a
favor?
good job.
Well done.
All in favor?
Aye,
Aye.
thank you.
Thank you.
TJ, I like the
All right.
downspout idea, though. That's good.
Ethan,
I haven't heard of that yet.
What?
Can we sit way down here?
Come down and sit next to
Yeah,
TJ.
yes.
Come on, Dave.
Actually,
Way down there. We couldn't even get past the butter.
I'll
you know?
be gone. Me and my father will be gone
Yeah.
next week. So.
Yeah, okay, well, yeah, sounds good. All right, thanks.
And what was the other thing? It was, the boards should be painted white, oh, and the lattice to be,
Natural to weather,
natural to weather.
and then the other thing's shingled, that was a
Look at
great
Ethan
idea.
sitting over here. Still in the group, huh?
I think we should hold for revision.
Probably. It's not my, I have to match the. Here. Here.
Oh,
Yeah.
look at those AC units.
Well, this is the public way.
Oh,
Thank you. Perfect.
That's, yeah.
okay. So,
This was done in this house.
one of them, they just died in
Yeah,
some.
right.
Thank
So,
you.
this is a garage studio. Full house. And the photographs I sent you are over there, of the public way from the street. And then the pictures of the house itself to show you that, yes, it's all 1/1 70s, it's a 70s house. And I kind of have to make the garage match the house. And it's all hills, so the garage is cut into a portion of the hill. And everything's mat consistent.
You wanna see these, TJ?
Yes,
Or-
please.
Okay.
And I have the garage door there because the septic is on the other side, and also then the drop out would be.
Well, this wasn't the one that the neighbors were all up in arms about. What was that one? Remember they all came?
You had one over on Irving that was like this, I think. And Surfside, somewhere in
It was
Surfside.
you.
Yeah.
Or
No, it
some-
was
one of
Tom
the-
Evers.
Yeah, that was in Irving. Yeah, that was in September. The one neighbor came because they bought a house next to.
What's behind all that trellis work?
It's the lower level bedrooms.
What covers those commercial size fans?
Your
How
hand
cold
would go
does
like
he
that.
want his house?
Yeah, that's all existing. That's been.
So Ethan, the only thing it is, the west is what faces the road, right?
No, that faces the road.
The
road
west.
is the road's on for the right.
road
So this faces the west. Turn the page.
This says north is that way, so.
Oh yeah, you're right.
West.
That is west. I always get confused out there because the road's twisted. So that faces the road.
And it looks as if that what's underneath of that would be considered the front door.
No, that goes right to the swimming pool. So that would be the door of the garage with the people there.
No, the
So
swimming pool's on the east.
The elevations are mislabeled because the
Okay.
south is actually east. The north is your west.
Yeah, that's south.
Yeah. Because the outdoor shower is on the east.
All right, wait. So tell me which
Sorry.
All right, hold on a minute.
Ding
So south, you got to change to east, please.
Yeah.
North to west. Let's see what else it is. So the deck is on the
That's okay.
on the south.
So the south.
And so the garage doors are north, right?
Garage doors are north. Yeah. All right.
Silly.
It's lucky there's such a small group.
Every time I go out there, I get lost. I was out there today.
It's not
Okay.
easy to.
So west, this is what faces. Okay.
Yeah, that faces the street.
Right.
That's what you can see from here.
Yeah. Well, there are some tupelo trees you can see through there. But anyway, I'm fine with this. I think it's perfectly in
Simple.
keeping with the structure.
Anybody who has the time to pick it up, pick it apart.
Just one question. Does the stair have to jut out like that? There's no way to tuck it in?
That's a good point. Is it? You could almost you run it over on the one side.
No. Oh.
But if you
I know I could turn it. The only reason I drew it that way because it's easier to draw.
So which way do you think?
I was gonna say run it on the south side.
Well, it comes down and turn.
Well, you don't even need an L shape. You could do it straight on the south. If you did your landing like right here, and then a straight run.
Oh, I didn't want to do that because they want to put a patio here. They want people to go in and out. That's why I don't want to block it.
Oh, I see.
All right, so do you need to access it from that direction? Could it go along the building the other way? Do you see what I mean? Just reverse.
That's a good one too.
No, I can do that. I just did it because they have a patio here and they just to go up and down and down. It's still have to walk around the building.
I think just to ground that next to the building, it won't change the deck at all. You do lose a window in your garage.
That window is
But
that's the only window in the bathroom. That's my thing.
That's all right.
So what? You can make it a smaller window.
Or you could look through the stairs to the attic.
Yeah, that's fine. I'll do that.
Make it a smaller.
Yeah, I can put the stairs. I just did it convenient because that's where everybody hangs out. You want to go up and down. You don't have to go around the building.
That's good. They could lean against the house when they had a long cocktail party.
Maybe that window, you could change the window to whatever. It doesn't. I don't think it matters.
They
All
have
right.
a window in the door. Yeah.
No, that's just a barn door. Yeah, the little teeny square window in there.
Yeah.
I know, right?
So they have some light.
When the kids lock themselves in there. Yeah.
Is everybody okay with that?
Yeah,
Okay.
that's good.
So I would make a motion to approve through staff, reversing the stairway direction, on the west.
Yeah, and I'll change the words.
To, run along the building instead of past the deck, and to correct the cardinal points.
Aye.
All in favor?
Aye.
Alright, thank you.
Thank you.
See ya.
Bye. Thank you, Bob.